I say this without any sort of hyperbole. Sunday's game is the biggest game of Kyler Murray's career. Let's discuss.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Cardinals, Alex Clancy here. Follow me on Twitter, Clancy's Corner. Follow the podcast, Locked On AZ Cards. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen, free wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Please go to the YouTube channel, search Locked On Arizona Cardinals, hit that subscribe button, man. I want to try something new. How about we get to 50 likes an episode? 50 likes a show. Can you do it, everydayers? I challenge you. Today's episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. This is the biggest game of Kyler Murray's career. I'll discuss. So the Cardinals passed to set up the run like they did 2 weeks ago against Seattle, but in a more refined manner. We'll tackle that and the can't-do list per usual on Fridays as we round out the week and look towards the biggest game of the season for the Cardinals. 2021, the playoff game. Oh, that was obviously the most important game of his career because it was a playoff game. The Cardinals were a dead team walking. Anybody could see it. That was a Ponzi scheme of a team. That's just what it was. And going into this season, this was the first year where everything seemed stable around Kyler Murray. And he had something to do with that, sure, early in his career. I'm not taking away blame from him. But this was the first year where, although there were question marks, this was the best offense, the best offensive line, and the room was zero excuses compared to what we saw for the first couple of years of his career. They've had highs, they've had lows this year. The highs were higher than expected. The lows were as expected going into the season when the over-under by most books was, 6.5? So going into week 14, this is the biggest test of the season for the Cardinals. And this is really the determining factor on where the rebuild's, spectrum length lays. If they win on Sunday, you look at New England, then Carolina, then the Rams, then the 49ers. Like, okay. Take over the division lead. They've got all the tiebreakers and all the land. They'll move to 3-1 in the division and then drop Seattle to 1-3 in the division. The Cardinals lose. It's going to be an uphill battle. They're going to be being reactive instead of proactive, like I discussed a couple weeks ago, the antithesis of what they should be doing. And with Kyler Murray at the helm, with everybody healthy, this is the biggest game of his career. And there's what do I expect Kyler Murray to do? I expect him to be great. I expect him to make those elite plays once or twice in a game that really become, the buffer between a win and a loss. I expect that. I expect the ball to be in his hands. I expect him to be able, to either check out of or have plays drawn up for him using his legs. There's no participation trophy for only throwing the ball. And I'm not talking at him. I'm talking at Drew Petzing. It's like, well, you want to make him a pocket passer. That's fine. And they're, 50, 55 snaps a game? Maybe wrinkle that in a little bit. And it's not just the designed RPO where he's 100% running the ball because you've got Jonah Williams setting the edge. You've got Tip Ryman over there on the strong side, like where it's designed. It's the special stuff. It's the stuff that keeps opposing defenses on their heels that we haven't seen. I expect Kyler Murray to lead the Cardinals to a win. I expect that. It's not wishful thinking. It's not, okay, they played 2 bad games and, they need this one. Because let's be honest, whenever the Cardinals have needed a game, they haven't been able to get it. This year is a little bit different because they've moved back from the car reaching the cliff, teetering on and off, and they've been able to put it in reverse. We saw that with the 4-game win streak, winning 5 out of 6. They've done it. And now, where the floor has raised and so do the expectations. You have a home game where you can take a dominance, not fair because the Rams are still coached by Sean McVay and they saw Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua and Kyron Williams. So, and the defense with Jared Verse and Braden Fisk have been great up front. But you take a pretty dominant lead over the NFC West with all the tiebreakers, and then you have the Rams in Week 17. This is a defining game for Kyler Murray. And it does, like, there are very rare instances because, Mina Kime's friend of the show, and, others will say wins aren't a QB stat. This one is. Sunday is. If the Cardinals lose to a last-second field goal, 42-41, it doesn't matter. This is on Kyler Murray to set his team up to win a football game. And with that, I will mention, I expect the Cardinals to not be settling for field goals. 3rd and 12 on the opposition's 40, a 6-yard dump down for a 48-yard field goal kick. I don't know if the math is right, but you know what I mean. Just because expecting Chad Ryland to make them. That's not something, I think that's a pumpkin situation. I expect the offense to be more aggressive. And how is the offense more aggressive? With Kyler Murray having the ball in his hands. I do expect him to run the ball. I do expect him to establish a run. Obviously, we'll talk in the next segment about how that can be tweaked, especially playing a division opponent the second time in 3 weeks. I always say that Kyler Murray, in this offense specifically, needs to be an elite game manager who makes special plays absolutely when the team needs it. And during that 4-game win streak, he was. Whether it be, 4th down conversions or long 3rd down conversions to extend drives, whatever it is, he was able to do it. And it's kind of fallen short the last couple of weeks. It's been field goals, not touchdowns. The offense has looked the same. I mean, between the 20s, the offense has been pretty good. That pick 6 was terrible. He makes mistakes. He's a human being. Heaven forbid he makes a mistake. But this is a game where there's zero excuses. The offensive line is healthy, pretty much, without Will Hernandez. Everybody's healthy on offense. They saw the defensive game plan that the Seahawks threw at them 2 weeks ago. It's at home, and everything is on the line. I know it's only week 14. I know that anything could happen. I know that if the Cardinals win on Sunday, they could lose 3 in a row. I know all of that. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about taking the bull by the cojones and going and winning a football game that you absolutely need to win if you want to win the NFC West and make the playoffs in 2024. On the flip side, I'll talk about this for 30 seconds because I don't think that fear-mongering is right, especially as we're ramping up to the biggest game for the Cardinals this year. If they lose, and they lose by not scoring touchdowns, and they lose like 13-6, and the defense does their job, I won't be ready to have the uncomfortable conversation yet because obviously they're still alive this year. This loss will fall solely on him if they lose. And I know that more times than not, 98% of the time, it's not just a quarterback stat. I get it all. I understand. I never bring up the contract because it's unnecessary. Plus, he's what? Is he like the 10th highest paid quarterback now? It's ridiculous. Like, it's a deal now. Especially with all the money they have in the cap. They just reconfigure so everything's good. You're the quarterback of an NFL team. You get paid the big bucks. Again, I don't really talk about it that much because, again, it's irrelevant. It's monopoly money anyways. And it's not ours. You go win this football game. That's it. No excuses. No, we got to be better. None of that. Go win the football game. Go be special. Lead the team to win. The defense is playing out of their minds. Go win a football game against a hobbled Seattle Seahawks team, even though they got one of their star pass rushers back off the IR. Go win a football game and set yourself up for success for the rest of the season. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. Do they set up the pass? Do they integrate the pass first to set up the run? What do I mean by that? I'll discuss it next. Today's episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by our friends over at Omaha Steaks. Nothing delivers comfort and joy quite like the unrivaled quality and taste of Omaha Steaks. It's guaranteed perfection in every bite, and right now you can save an unforgettable amount and save on unforgettable gifts with 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, score an extra $30 off with promo code NFL. With 5 generations of experience, they consistently deliver the world's best steak experience, and the gifting experts at Omaha Steaks have made it easy to deliver the perfect gift with thoughtfully curated gift packages featuring gourmet favorites. From legendary steaks to mouthwatering desserts and more, save 50% off site-wide for a limited time at omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners get an extra $30 off with promo code NFL. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com and an extra $30 off with promo code NFL. Minimum purchase may apply. Today's episode of Locked On Cardinals is also brought to you by our friends over at Skylight Frames. So around the holidays, it's fun to share pictures, okay? A lot of times it's clunky. Not, I'll tell you what, not with Skylight Frames. Missing someone this holiday and, want them to be a part of your festivities from afar. Do your loved ones live far away but wish they could be close to you? Maybe gift giving isn't your love language. You overthink it and wind up with something disappointing or nothing at all. Well, we've got the perfect gift for you. Skylight Frame is a touchscreen digital photo frame for your whole family. Then everybody's going to love it. Upload thousands of photos with your phone and watch them appear in seconds. It's so easy to use. Setup takes less than 60 seconds. You can invite friends and family to easily share your photos via the free Skylight mobile app or email with no account or subscription necessary. And if you want a little proof, it's a top-rated brand. Over 1 million happy customers, thousands of 5-star reviews, and available in over 30 countries. Recommended by the Today Show, Forbes, New York Mag, and more. Do you need any more? And now is a special limited-time offer for our listeners. Get $20 off your purchase of a Skylight Frame when you go to skylightframe.com/LockedOnNFL. That's SKYLIGHTFRAME.com/LockedOnNFL. Get $20 off your purchase now at skylightframe.com/LockedOnNFL. And I don't think it's hyperbolic to say that this is the biggest game in Kyler Murray's career. I think the impact, like more long-term, would be more potent if they lost. If that makes sense. And if they win, it's going to continue the locomotive downhill with no restrictor plate or brakes. It's like, okay, the Cardinals are ready this year. They're ready this year. This is, I don't know, because you never know when the season starts. It's like, okay, I was expecting the Cardinals to be 3-7 going into the bye week. I'm like, well, that'd be a win. And now having the Seahawks game be the most important game of the year is it's bonkers. Like, that's why you never really know what the hell's going to happen until the games are actually played. Fascinating. I'm so excited. I'm so excited for Sunday. I'm so excited. I don't know how excited. Like, I said excited 5 times. I think that's enough, but it's hard to formulate a sentence to explain how important this game is. Now, offensive game plan. Do you do this? Do you run the same kind of scripted plays early on like they did 2 weeks ago at Lumen Field, where Seattle's run defense is completely done a 180, and now it's becoming more formidable, like it has been more times than it's not over the last 15 years. Implementing the pass to set up the run in this regard. More Marvin Harrison Jr. and Michael Wilson. Well, maybe you don't, but I'm here for you every day. I'm here. They're going to try and take away Trey McBride. Trey McBride had over 10 catches. He had a hell of a game. They didn't get in the end zone, but he could do whatever he wanted. He's a guy that's always open, and that's great. And him and Kyler Murray's rapport and Drew Petzing's play calling, they scheme him open all the time, and he just gets open because he's that good. I'm more looking at Marvin Harrison Jr. and Michael Wilson making an impact early. Because if you can do that, and it's not, 4 catches for 40 yards each on the opening drive and a score, but it's more so diluting the potency of James Conner and Trey McBride, because that's what the other 11 players not wearing Arizona Cardinals uniforms are going to be looking at first. So if they can get Michael Wilson involved early, and I'm talking primarily more about him than Marvin, it opens everything up. And it's not difficult. Throw him the rock, he catches everything. They should get him more involved. It's one of those things that everybody's talked about forever, and they just don't. And this isn't an ego thing where it's like, oh, they have to get the ball to Trey McBride. Oh, they have to get targets to Marvin Harrison Jr. because he was a number 4 overall pick. Oh, they have to give the ball to James Conner because they just extended him. No. The Arizona Cardinals, especially against a division opponent, need to give the opposing defense and defensive corners something that they haven't schemed for. I'm not the trick plays. I'm pulling as many gotta-have-it plays that the Cardinals are going to put on ice until later in the year. I'm pulling them out now. You need this win. Michael Wilson, early on, imperative, in my opinion. And it's weird to say that as a tertiary wide receiver. Using Trey McBride as a decoy early on, that's how big plays are sprung. The burst plays happen when you got everybody looking one way. Michael Wilson can catch the ball down the field. Michael Wilson is a great route runner. You can throw it between the tackles. Or the tackle balls, up the seam. I think that's the way that you're going to have to approach this if you want to catch Seattle off guard and score a touchdown on your opening drive, which seems like a thing of the past. It's a relic after the first, handful of weeks where they did it every week. Lighter boxes, let James Conner eat. I don't think halfback dive or RB off tackle on every first down is a recipe for success, at least until you get the passing game going. I'd much rather, and this is, seems counterintuitive to the last segment, you win or lose by Kyler Murray. This is one of those games. It's going to be a playoff atmosphere. You can't go down because you're 2nd and 9 every series after a halfback run for 1 yard. Just can't happen. Obviously, you're going to be doing that because running the ball on first down is pretty customary. But they've got to give something that Seattle hasn't seen. And the Cardinals have so many weapons. Hell, maybe get Zay Jones involved. Remember him? He's a competent wide receiver. And you know who Michael Wilson and Zay Jones are going to have on him? CB3 and CB4. Not Devin Witherspoon. Not Tariq Woolen. The Cardinals have this extensive Rolodex of talent, and they use 30% of it. Is that Drew Petzing? Maybe. Is it too many cooks in the kitchen? Maybe. Regardless, you put the ball in Kyler Murray's hands. I'd much rather, unless the Seahawks rush defense just completely reverts back to where they were in week 4, you got to give them something they haven't seen before. And sure, of course, it's not saying don't throw the ball to Trey McBride, but using him as a decoy early, I think could pay huge dividends just to set the tone for the rest of the game, where it's like, what do you want to stop? The run or the pass? Because we're eating. The Cardinals are eating on both. That's what you want to see. And I think giving them the gotta have it plays early, where they're like, where the hell was that on the game film that we were watching? Early on, could be massive recipe for success in a must-win game for the Cardinals. What's the can't-do list? I'll talk about it next. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by our friends at Ice Shaker. I've got mine right over there. Just put a little soap in it. I got one in the mail. Hey, Locked On Cardinals fans. I know you're like me and your holiday shopping list is, let's say, far from complete. Well, if that's the case, I've got the perfect gift for the passionate sports fan in your life. Perhaps you've heard of Ice Shaker. Ice Shaker is now officially licensed with NFL, NHL, NBA, NCAA, and MLB, and will make their ideal gift. Created by and used by the Gronkowski brothers, Ice Shakers has sold over 1 million bottles. They've changed the game with the workout bottles, and this is the gift you've been looking for. Go to iceshaker.com and use the code LOCKEDONNFL at checkout to save 25% off your order. Order your team-branded bottles today at iceshaker.com and use code LOCKEDONNFL for 25% off your order. Ice Shakers. Show your support to your teams with the best branded workout bottle on the market, Ice Shakers. Today's episode of Locked On Cardinals is also brought to you by our lovely friends at FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL. I mean, I don't think I'm being irrational with how important this game is. And I don't think I'm being irrational going into it a little uneasy. I'm going to say it. Yeah, I'm going to say it. So, how poor the Cardinals played and how bad of a look it was with their playoff loss to the Rams, for Kyler Murray specifically. This would have the same effect on the positive side if they win. Regular season game, playoff game. This is an adult team. That was not. That was a Ponzi scheme. This is a real team. That was a Ponzi scheme. Bernie Madoff. This was a real team. This is a real team. Monty Osborne. Okay? I think it has the same effect positively if they win. There are some things that the Cardinals can't do. One, and I said this last week or 2 weeks ago on the crossover. I said it 2 weeks ago throughout the week. You can't give up the big play to Jackson Smith and Jigba. I know that DK Metcalf is hobbled. We'll see if he's going to play. He's on the injury report. He didn't practice yesterday, neither did Kenneth Walker, but it's still TBD. DK Metcalf is like Julio Jones. He's hurt every week and he plays every week for the most part. Jackson Smith and Jigba is who's going to kill you. And we saw that 2 weeks ago. The only big play was that little slip screen up the seam, took it 40 yards, and they ended up scoring a touchdown to who? Jackson Smith and Jigba. He's the one. He's starting to emerge. And I asked Corbin Smith yesterday if he's bona fide WR1 at this point, and he still thinks it's 1 and 1A with DK. I mean, they have such a different skill set. Like Jackson Smith and Jigba is going to be an all-star. Been watching a lot of basketball lately. A Pro Bowler for the next decade or fringe. I mean, he's that good. Okay, took him a little while because he was buried on the depth chart. Remind you of anybody? And he's going to be fine. He's the one. Okay. Geno Smith wants to turn the ball over. He wants to. He threw it right to Garrett Williams in the end zone 2 weeks ago. He wants to turn the ball over, and the Cardinals should have turned them over at least 2 other times. The one thing, it's so funny. Not funny. It's sports and human beings are just weird. Do you remember when the Cardinals had a bad defense early in the season? They were turning people over like crazy. They have 3 turnovers in San Francisco in that win, including an interception to seal it. And now they can't turn anybody over when the defense is cruising. They've got to get short fields for the offense. And not because the offense needs it. This is something that Geno Smith could turn the ball over 3 times in any given game. He's a smart quarterback. He's got a great arm. Obviously knows the offense really well, even though it's a new offense. He has the proclivity to throw interceptions and to put the ball on the ground. And the Cardinals need to transition from just hard hitting to hard hitting with the ball exploding somewhere else into the loving arms of the Arizona Cardinals. No Jackson Smith and Jigba big plays. Must turn Geno Smith over. And this is the biggest one. And this is hopefully you feel smarter after these shows, unless I squirrel for a moment. Don't count that. This whole season, touchdowns or field goals. after the Cardinals kind of grew up a little bit, after the Washington game. Since then, touchdowns you win, field goals you lose. And that's not counting the game-winning field goals. I'm saying when you get down in the red zone, are you scoring touchdowns, are you kicking field goals? The Cardinals need to get back to scoring touchdowns. And I'll tell you, just like the last segment started, getting Michael Wilson involved throughout the game will open up so much more. But the one thing that I would like to see, that I don't know why we haven't, and I don't know why this hasn't been clicking, like things are starting to click with Marvin Harrison Jr. and Kyler Murray. Put him on an island, throw it really high in the air, and have him go get it. Not really high. We're not talking like back shoulder fades or, back pylon or, back of the end zone fades. Just put him against a corner. I don't care if it's Devin Witherspoon. I don't care if it's Tariq Woolen. And just throw it up and let the 6'3" wide receiver go get it. Why not? Kyler Murray is very good in those situations, in most situations, of throwing a ball to only where the receiver can get it or it'll be incomplete. He's very good in most situations like that. So why not utilize it? Do it with Trey McBride. You put him up by himself. You run a, two-step slant, put it on his helmet. He catches everything. Like, that's one thing that's when you use your top-tier weapons. When you have an advantage. And you have an advantage with Trey McBride pretty much over anybody on defense on any team. So it doesn't have to just be run the ball twice. While, listen, first and goal from the 2, you're running the ball. But if it's, you're in the red zone, 1st and 10 from the 13 or 1st and 10 from the 15, it doesn't have to be run. It doesn't have to be run. Get the ball into your playmaker's hands and let them go. I would take a wide receiver bubble screen, 1st and 10 from the 13 over a halfback dive. It obviously depends on game flow, depends on score, depends on how they're running the ball and how effectively. But if you over-target Marvin Harrison Jr. and Kyler Murray throws a pick on one of them, I'll eat that all day long. If you over-target Trey McBride in the red zone and he throws a pick, I'll eat that all day long, depending on the ball. But you know what? Like, Kyler Murray's pretty careful with the ball. That pick six, terrible pick six on 4th down notwithstanding. Touchdowns, not field goals, becomes a lot easier if you get the ball in your elite playmaker's hands. And I know that sounds obvious. But in a game that you got to have, you play the hits. You play the hits. You play song 1, 2, 3, 4. You don't play song 8, 9, 10, 11. All of that can be set up by Michael Wilson getting the ball early. It's not like he doesn't have the trust with Kyler Murray. He's the only guy he threw the ball to last year, and Trey McBride. Getting Michael Wilson involved early can unlock everything and allow the Cardinals to play the hits on their way to a victory on Sunday. Will it happen? We'll see. Either way, I will talk to you on Monday. Remember, without you, there is no me. Hope for a dub. Talk to you Monday.